Hey everyone, it's Gnome, your favorite metal-loving midget. Do you love music? How about heavy music with some nice gutter rolls and amazing breakdowns? Look no further. Come join Jake the Hater and myself for your bi-weekly heavy music content. We bring you our newest singles and album recommendations. We are also bringing you new artists you may have never heard before. We are now streaming with a new RSS feed on Spreaker Prime. Come subscribe, like, and review. Also check out our Linktree for all our socials, feeds, and of course our very own Spotify playlist. Horns up and stay heavy.
What's up? This is Jordan Robinson. You're listening to the Bleach Brothers podcast. Be sure to pay attention to B words of wisdom and whatever it is that fumbles out of Jake's lips.
Welcome into the Bleach Brothers podcast. This is another sick fucking B word right here. God damn it. And here I am.
Sick from the dick, or is it the flu, as Tupac would say?
This is not sick from the dick or the flu. This is pneumonia, dick. And I thought you knew. See, I can rhyme too.
You have baronitis.
I have baronitis.
Yeah, it's the strain Robert. Did
you learn that by reading the Berenstain Bears? No, I'm pretty confident that
it's the Bernstein Bears.
It's the Berenstain Bears. Look, they're not
Bernstein
Jewish, bro. They're just Berenstain.
I don't care. I bet they used to hide diamonds.
Yeah. So before we started recording, dude, we were talking about stupid shit in stupid states. And you mentioned something about your wife's refrigerant in her car.
Yeah. So the AC, like recharge canisters or whatever, right? You know, the $20 things, just you spray it in. They're illegal up here.
Yes.
I can't buy them. I can't ship them in. I can't do anything. So I have to go to a shop now to have somebody do it who's going to charge me $75. Because what's the average rate? $75 to $150 an hour to do something. There's no way they go, it's a 15-minute thing. We'll just charge you for the can. They have to make money. They're a business. I get it. At the nicest, it's like a bad hooker. They might charge me for a half hour.
Yeah.
But they're going to charge me the full hour. So, I mean, this $20 job is going to turn into about, let's just say, $180.
Yeah, because they have to do an inspection to ensure.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, it's garbage. It's garbage. But it also made me think, I've sent you beer before. You've sent me beer before. Aaron sent me beer. Like, I've sent beer to others. We can't legally send beer in the mail.
No.
And that drives me fucking bonkers. Now, I understand that certain states, like Utah, have like pretty strict laws on alcohol and like beer and stuff. But seriously, dude, like if I'm sending a couple cans to somebody, or even if I go to the bar, like the brewery, and I'm like, hey, I really have a friend of mine who would love to try some of this. Can you ship it to them? The answer is no. And you just can't ship alcohol. It's the stupidest thing. Now, let me ask you this. If I put water in beer cans and I ship that, that's not illegal. That might be frowned upon, but it's not illegal.
Yeah, but they also ask you if there's any liquid perishable. Because here's the crappy thing. Water is technically perishable by law.
I don't know. I just think it's stupid. I think it's absolutely stupid.
Agree.
And if you know how to pack beer, like when Aaron sent me his thing of beer, I could tell Aaron's a podcaster because it's totally full of like all these spongy squares that we all use for noise reduction.
Oh, I thought you were going to say podcasting stickers, but no, shout out to that too.
No, yeah. So it's garbage. It's absolute garbage. But no, Aaron packed it good. You've packed it good. You guys are good box packers. I appreciate you too for being in the food industry. You guys definitely know how to pack a box.
My wife knows I can pack her box.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does.
Deep. That's a deep box.
Yes, she does.
Now.
So this rundown was come up with by you, and yes. I love this rundown. I love everything about this rundown. I love the topic. That's
because you only like white rappers.
I knew that was going to come up. I love black rappers, but yes, I love white rappers too. I love Latino rappers. It's all over the board. But yes,
you're a Bad Bunny
fan? Not really. No, when I was thinking Latino rappers, I was thinking like Mr. Capone or, people like that,
I'm just glad you didn't say Pitbull.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Mr. 305. Is that what it is?
I don't fucking know.
Yeah. I don't know either.
You would.
I don't know either. So you talked about doing this rundown. We try to make things different each week, and I'm absolutely loving the shit that we're coming up with. So topic of the night is Eminem, a.k.a. Marshall Mathers, a.k.a. Slim Shady. aka Rap God. Now, arguably, he is either the best or one of the best rappers ever, potentially. He's at least in a top 5. I would say he's probably in most people's top 5. How were you introduced to Eminem?
Actually, I was introduced to Eminem on X1075 radio. I remember I was in 6th or 7th grade, and I don't know if you remember, because I think you were living in Beatty at the time. I don't know if you guys got that station, but they used to have on Sunday nights at like 9 p.m. like it was like a song against a song, and
Oh,
you'd
yeah,
call
yeah.
in and vote. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't remember what it was called. I don't remember the segment, but I remember Eminem came on, and it was "Hi, my name is," right? My name is, and it was verse something, and it kept winning, and they were surprised it kept winning. But it was like, I remember, because I was the kid like calling in and requesting ICP and
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit Faith, and like
Yeah.
during that whole time, right? And so of course it was winning, and that was the way I was introduced to that song. And I never really thought of like what his color was or anything. I just thought, this is weird. I like it.
Yeah.
I'll get into it. That was actually how I was introduced to him, was just based on sitting next to my big, what was it? We had the stereos with the cabinet stereos where you could separate the speakers and move them around your room. And the 3-disc player or whatever. That's how I was introduced to Eminem. And then I bought the Slim Shady LP when I was on a baseball trip. And I remember listening to it with all my buddies, on, in the back of the van or the bus or whatever we were on the trip with, because that was when we actually had to carry our Walkman,
Right.
CD player. The no skip was the best.
Yeah.
And just listen to the whole album. But that's how I was introduced. What about you?
Same thing. I mean, it wasn't on. I don't think it was on X1075, but it was definitely on the radios where I heard him first. Living in remote Nevada, I didn't always have access to radio stations and stuff, and you understand that growing up in Pahrump. So this is something where like I'd go visit my cousin and he'd introduce me to new music, or I'd go visit friends that lived elsewhere and they'd introduce me to new music and stuff like that. And so I listened to Eminem the very first time as the music was spinning through a boombox somewhere, and I just fell in love with it. I thought, wow, this is innovative. The way that he's rapping is unlike anything that I've ever heard before, because you got to think, in the time we're talking about, not Tupac, not Biggie, because they weren't really around at that point, but you're talking about, Mos Def, Jay-Z, Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre was still kind of out, Ice Cube, all these rappers, they had their own flow to it, but nobody really came out of Detroit unless it was ICP, just because there was nobody who had got some tread. And so
Kid Rock.
Yeah, but he wasn't really a rapper at that point. He was trying to be a rocker. He was weird. He just wasn't.
He was both. Because there are times where that's why him and Eminem had their thing.
Yeah,
because he was rapping in those areas and doing that, and then he did his own like Ball with the Boss shit. I see your point, but also I'm trying to just give him a little bit of that, because that was also the time when Kid Rock was trying to do that Kid and Play high fade bullshit that he was doing. But anyways, go ahead.
Well, I will say to Kid Rock, the best rap that was ever on a Kid Rock album was done by a midget, and his name was Josie, and I'm Joe to the C ho, call me Josie, I got more game than Coleco, I'm a freak ho, call me sick, 3'9" with a 10-foot dick. And that was the best lyric that ever came off of that. So anyway, but honestly, I think more so than the radio, I was introduced to Eminem through TRL, through Total Request Live on MTV, because we'd come home after school, at least I would, and I would turn on the radio and there wouldn't be much on there, but I would turn on MTV and all of a sudden they're spinning things like, Britney and Christina, but they're doing NSYNC and they're doing, all of those things of that time frame. And here comes Eminem, and he's fucking fuck everybody, suck my dick, like Jake likes to say.
Fuck.
And
yes.
this is him coming out to the world being like, hey, I'm here, fuck you. And not only am I here, but I got Dre in my corner. And I was kind of flabbergasted why Dr. Dre would take this white rapper and just throw him under his wing, because you remember right before that, the white rapper joke was always about like Vanilla Ice. You know, like, oh yeah, like Vanilla Ice this, Vanilla Ice that. So anyway, I just thought it was pretty cool to learn about Eminem, and of course see when he came out. But when he first started spinning, I mean, he created a name for himself, both in controversy, but also he started out with some beefs too, and I always love that. I love rap battles and shit. What were some of Eminem's notable beefs for you, and which one do you like the best?
So it was my favorite of all time is when G Unit was really against Murder Inc. and Benzino and all that. It's different from like his own, where he was like against like Cannabis, or it's funny where he was also against Royce to 5'9", even though they're really good bros.
Right.
But I guess if I ranked them, I think it would be for relevancy MGK, ICP, and then Eminem and Everlasting Limp Bizkit, because those were the ones where we had prominent fucking songs come out about them, like the Mariah Carey, Nick Cannon. Yes, that happened, but also there's a level of where he didn't also care about it either.
Right,
like he dissed Cannabis, right?
Yeah,
and he dissed Michael Jackson more like, I'm just gonna make fun of Michael Jackson in a video. I might say a few things here, but everybody else was making fun of him, so I don't count that. The Ja Rule thing and Murder Inc., I think, was more the whole G Unit and the whole label. So if it was just Eminem, I loved his diss against ICP the most, because I think that was the most lyrically where he got them the best. MGK would be second, and then Everlast Limp Bizkit, just because of the story behind it, how they were going to make fun of Everlast. Limp Bizkit was going to jump on it. Then Limp Bizkit came out and talked shit. So then he said, fuck you both, and just went off on all of them.
Yeah, I like that story. That one's actually pretty funny, how Limp Bizkit got involved in that diss. I will say, Eminem did not pull any punches. I mean, I think one of the funnier ones was Christina Aguilera, when he's just name dropping her in lyrics and stuff, and he's like, you know, she's giving head to Fred Durst and all that sort of stuff. And then the funny part about it is when he's winning Grammys and she's presenting it, and he's like having to accept it from her. I just thought that was fucking hilarious. I'll say for me, I think the Benzino and Ja Rule thing is probably the most prominent. You know, it's arguable if that's how Proof. It's arguable how that's how Proof died, because that seemed to have some pretty lasting effects. I will say though, Insane Clown Posse, when he did the skits where they were blowing each other, I mean, that was the first time I heard that, I was like, holy shit, this guy's actually getting a blowy, just based off of the sounds of it. And you know, it was a really precarious position for Insane Clown Posse to be in, because here they are having to listen to it. And of course, at the time that this came out, Eminem was so much more prominent than Insane Clown Posse was. Insane Clown Posse was this underground juvenile society of degenerates, basically, and they just didn't understand. The society just didn't understand what they were doing, whereas Eminem's now getting into the forefront. So I thought that was pretty good. I will say the whole Nick Cannon thing, like, Nick Cannon's a fucking puss. Like, there's just nothing about Nick Cannon that I really enjoy. But the fact that he wanted to try and battle rap Eminem, I felt like was more for him than it was for Eminem. And that's kind of the same thing with MGK. I just really think that people try to get on Eminem's radar for the promo more than the feud.
Yeah, the clout to get like your coat chasing tail. Like,
yeah.
The thing is though, I like MGK as a rapper. I always have before. I'll say that out now loud. When he first was coming out and was getting on Bad Boy Records and stuff, I was a big fan of his. And so Lace Up, I think, is a great fucking album. Wild Boy is a great fucking track with him and Waka. The problem was MGK is that guy that doesn't know what he wants to be.
Right.
He's that guy that would show up to high school one year as an emo kid, the next year is dressed like a girl, the next year is a football player, the next year is a baseball player, the next year he's in a punk band. Like, that's how I feel like his music career is. Now, mind you, I think he's talented enough to do multiple like dreams, and there's a lot of guys that do that. Like Black Bear is one of those guys, like in that hip hop R&B punk scene that I really like.
Yeah.
Collabs with a lot of people. I like that stuff. But when you're coming at Eminem and you're coming at rap, and then you come out with a metal or, you know, whatever album it was, like a pop punk rock album the next time, and then you try to diss Slipknot, it's like, now we just know what you're doing. Like, you're just calling out stuff to get prominence on it. Because we used to always joke, like, were beefs real?
Yeah.
Like, are they doing it to sell records or is it that? Now, we did talk about Eminem's beefs. Can I ask you, what are your favorite 3 diss tracks by him that he's ever released?
Okay, so Haley's Revenge, where Eminem's going back at Ja Rule.
Ja Rule.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty good. The Eminem versus Machine Gun Kelly
Kill Shot
was good. My favorite one though is The Warning, where he's doing that diss track on Mariah Carey.
Okay.
I think that one is just tremendous, where he's talking about, and he's actually playing her voice messages in the song
in the background. Yeah,
and I love that part of it, because I think one of the things that makes a diss track real is when there's real talk in there. Like we talked about WWE and WCW and WWF and all that shit in a previous episode. One of the things that was some of the best storylines is when we thought that they were real, right? So bringing the realness into the diss track and playing her actual voicemails, I think to me that made it one of the best diss tracks for him. So those would probably be my top 3.
Nice. If I ranked them, and you know me, it's always in order. Go to Sleep. One, it's featuring my favorite rapper of all time, where they're dissing Benzino and Ja Rule with DMX.
Yeah.
Fucking love that track. Number 2 would be Kill Shot. I think it's just relevancy. I also think it was one of those things that was very, very well thought out. It gives us the newer Eminem.
Yeah.
Because there's a big difference there. And that's one of those things, like, even he admits, I mean, D12 was the whole thing where it was like, it's called D12 because they're the Dirty Dozen, because there's 6 of them, but they all have an alter ego, right?
Yep.
So there is a difference when you have Eminem and Slim Shady, right? This was a pure Eminem. I'm just going to come at you. I'm going to end this too. And that was the nice thing. He didn't have to continue it up with other tracks. Like, there are other diss tracks that he did where it's like follow up.
Mm-hmm.
This is like, I'm just going to do this and it's over with. My number 1 of all time though is Kim. I adore that song. It's one of my favorite songs. It's about his ex-wife. We've all had
That's
that
a brutal
feeling if you have
song.
an ex out there. It's one of the greatest ones. I love to sing along with it. I feel like I can sound just like him. I just love the yelling. I know people like can't understand why I think it's one of my favorite songs by him. Now, will it make my top 5 for like later in the show, the Everlasting Jukebox? Spoiler alert, no. But is my favorite diss track of all time because I think it's the most heartfelt diss he's ever had in his life.
Yeah.
Where you have the balls to go into a studio and make a track about killing your ex live and then releasing it going, I really don't care. Suck my dick, world. That is why I think it's the best diss track he ever came with of all time, because he doesn't even need to rap on it. He's just letting out frustrations and feelings as a rapper to be like, this is how I feel. This is how life is. And this is what I would love to do. I can't do it. I'll do it in a song. It's different than, hey, I'm a Goku and I'm a Kamehameha blast you and whatever else you're going to do with a rhyme, right? And make it sound witty and fun. It's just like, hey, I want to kill you in the woods, make your blood stain the leaves, and then drag you and put you in the trunk of the car. Great track. Great track.
I don't know that I personally agree with that. That track makes me feel weird. I'm just going to put it like that. That track, because of how descriptive it was, I felt like I was murdering her with him. And here's a fun story regarding this. So we've talked about this on the show before. I would get grounded for having parental advisory CDs. And so I would hide them. And one of the CDs that my mom found was, Eminem. And that the Kim song was on what was that? That was on the Slim Shady LP, right? And she was listening to the lyrics, and I swear to God, when I got in trouble, that was the one song that she brought up to me. She's like, and he's murdering his wife and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go. So that song to me is just that's a deep song, but it's a good diss song. I'll agree with you, it's a good diss song for sure.
Right. Love it to death. I mean, I know J-Rob would give me hell for this. Where do I put it against We Cry Together with Kendrick Lamar? That's a toughie. That's tough because I love both those tracks. They're both cringeworthy songs. But dissing wise, I think he actually spoke to that one. So I'd go with that.
I will say, just to kind of piggyback off of the notable beefs here, MGK actually had a good diss track on Eminem. I would say
Rap Devil.
I would say that was probably the best diss to Eminem that has actually been out there, and that includes Ja Rule and Mariah Carey and everybody else who has attempted to diss him. But I just don't know that Eminem has the ability to be dissed, if that makes sense. I just think that he's too lyrical and he's too methodical in what he does. I just don't know that he can be overcome that way. Does that make sense?
No, I agree, because I mean they all say he's the walking dictionary. Like, you don't mess with the white boy. I mean, a lot of guys have came out and said that. I think it's also though too, he's at the point in his rap career where he has the time, and there is that level of difference. Like Jay-Z can come out, him and him and Nas had beef for notable years, and they had diss tracks together, and they were great. But it was one of those things, they weren't sitting there all day. Like, the difference with Eminem when he dissed people, like, every track on almost all his albums has a diss to somebody in the world. He doesn't care.
Yep.
And I guess that's the difference of it. Some rappers are just out there like, I'm just going to talk about getting jewels and cars and stuff. And Eminem's like, I'm going to talk about Pamela Anderson getting her ass beat, and then some guy spitting in McDonald's fries, and then some guy fucking your wife in the ass in your trailer. Like, that's the notable difference there. Hence why he's one of my favorites, because it always seemed more real and raw and relatable. Mind you, ethnicities and all that other stuff aside, it's the fact like that I can relate to him more. Let's take a quick break, B-word, and we'll come back. We're going to talk about albums, collabs, songs, more. This is an ode to Slim Shady, but We'll be right back in a second.
Have you ever listened to a podcast about porn?
Why not let us be your guides?
We do all the dirty work for you.
All you have to do is sit back and enjoy.
We are the porn connoisseurs. I'm Big C.
And as always, you got your boy Jay. You can listen to our show, the Porn Stash Podcast, every other Monday.
Listen to us on Spotify, Apple, Stitcher, and just about anywhere else.
Welcome back into the Bleach Brothers podcast. Jake the Hater here with B-word. We're talking about Eminem, everything Eminem, Slim Shady, whatever you want to call him, dickhead, whatever. It's an ode to him. Like, this is an episode dedicated to him, best albums, everything. Thank you for the people who have discussed any of our posts with us. But let's get into collabs. We know we collab great on this show, but it does take a certain art form and chemistry to be able to collab with somebody well. And I guess we'll just do it this way. What are your top 3 favorite Eminem collabs, whether they're on his album or not?
So I will say this: I'm a huge Biggie fan. We've talked about that before. Biggie has the song "Dead Wrong," came out in 1999. Eminem has a spot on that album, or I'm sorry, on that song, that I think is unique because, again, Biggie's dead. So for you to actually come on to a song that's being released or re-released and have a part in that, and actually steal the spotlight from the original rapper, I thought was really unique. And so I really like that song for sure. Another collab, it's not really M collabing with somebody, it's somebody collabing with M. I loved when Eminem was getting a lot of the LGBTQ hate, like he's homophobic and all this sort of stuff. And he comes out with the song Stan, and Stan was done with Dido originally, where she's singing the chorus. But then live, Elton John is singing the Dido part with Eminem on stage. And it just really was a good time. I think that was the 01 Grammys. And the reason why that was important is because listening to Eminem's lyrics, I didn't really get that he was homophobic. You have to think about some of the verbiage at the times and how it was used. It wasn't uncommon to call somebody a fag or gay or something like that in a diss rap or in a rap battle, or even in a beef. And so I thought that was a good one. But probably my favorite one, and I'll give you an honorable mention here real quick. My honorable mention is Renegade with Jay-Z. I just thought that one was really good. But I think my favorite one is going to be when Nate Dogg showed up with Eminem and they sang Shake That. I just thought that was a really good party song. I love the way that they went back and forth in the lyrics, how the story kind of built off of each other and how they were able to deliver that. Nate Dogg probably has the most beautiful voice in rap, and he's not a rapper. I feel that. He's auto-tuned before auto-tune, if that makes sense. And so anytime Nate Dogg's been on a track, I just absolutely love it. Love everything about like all the Dr. Dre mashups and everything, and we'll get into that as we start getting into singles. But as far as collabs, those are the collabs that are on the top of my list. What about you?
First one would be an honorable mention, and it's actually an album. And the reason it only does that or makes the honorable mention list is because it's sort of cheating. It's the whole D12 Devil's Night album.
Okay.
Because it was at the time we knew he was part of a group, but also, I mean, they came out with a song on the second album, D12 World, My Band, to showcase that without Eminem.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right.
what are, not that I'm not a fan of D12, but you get what I mean? Like, nobody's showing up to Bizarre only shows.
Yeah.
Like, I like Bizarre, but that, you know what I mean? That's the point. So that would be my honorable mention. Number 3 for me is Renegade. Just like you were saying about the Biggie song, I think it was a Jay-Z song where he got outshined by the guy he had come on the album.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it happens before, but it was very like telling to see like, damn, like he really killed it on that fucking
He
track.
did.
And it's one of the ones I always think of when I first started coming up, like listening to Eminem, and you'd go out and you get the LimeWire virus and you're trying to find any song you could with Eminem on it. That was one of the ones that you always ran across. So I'm a big fan of that song. The next one would be Lucky You with Joyner Lucas. I'm a huge Joyner Lucas fan. It's the epitome of Eminem's newer style where he's faster and quicker and just says every word. And I'm not saying Eminem never did that style, but the way him and Joyner go back and forth on that track is just so good. And then number 1 would be Caterpillar with Royce da 5'9". And the reason is I think him and Royce are probably the best two together out of all the people he's ever rapped with, not just because they're just like close buddies and they work well and they have Bad Meets Evil and they've done the albums together. But it's just a good track too. It's got a little bit of everything, but it's also one of the songs where Eminem's not outshining somebody else. Like he's collabing, but he's on it.
That Bad Meets Evil is a great fucking album. I love that one. Yeah, that's a great collab too. I'll give you that. Good list, man. I love the D12 stuff, but again, the D12 stuff is not anything without M. So,
right.
All right, man. I think let's get into some meat and potatoes here. Eminem has 11 studio albums. And the reason why we say studio albums is because we're not including things like Bad Meets Evil. We're not including things that Eminem has been on, like
Diss Me, Dish You albums, or
yeah,
like Fucking Crazy, or all the other stuff,
or greatest hits, or soundtracks or whatever. So let's rank from worst to best,
okay.
And let's go in just kind of back and forth. What is the worst Eminem album? And let's take it all the way to the best Eminem album and go from there. And let's start with you.
Worst one's Infinite, the very first album. And it's not that it's not like one. It almost feels like a cop-out when you say that because that was before he got big, right? And he was trying to release it. But here's the reason why. If you listen to it, it's him trying to be what rap wants everybody to be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are tracks on there where it sounds like he's trying to do like a club banger, a radio banger. Like, it's not really him. There are moments on that album where it's mainly like the radio freestyles where he's being himself.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to the songs and it feels like somebody just overly produced the hell out of it. The sound quality is not as great. We understand it's his first studio album. He limited budget, all that stuff. But if you had to rank them, yeah, I'm going to make that the worst album.
That's funny. That's funny because that is not my worst album. My worst album is Relapse, 2009. Relapse is terrible. I really don't know what else to say about Relapse. I didn't find one track that was redeeming quality on this album to be able to say, okay, this is a good album. I mean, Bagpipes for Baghdad, that's terrible, dude. I mean, it's just garbage. So that Relapse is my worst album. And then just because you already said it, Infinite is going to be my next. And I think that Infinite had more potential than it had creativity, I guess. Or it was authentic. I loved Infinite. But the reason why I think I rank Infinite more than Relapse is because when Relapse came out in 2009, I think there was more expectation for what M's next project was going to be. He had already shown his creativity, and I felt like with Relapse, he mailed it in. With Infinite, you at least started to figure out, okay, this is a boy who's talented, and let's see where it goes. Does that make sense?
No, it does. I mean, I agree with you, too, in the sense that you're feeling like we know how good Eminem could be, and then we get this.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, oh, this is the very first album. Okay, there's potential there. It could grow. It's like, the potential's there. We've seen it. Multiple platinum, everything.
Yep.
Like, give me something good, and then that comes out. The funny thing is, it's higher on my list than I think most people will think, but I'll give you this little caveat is the next 3 albums, right, are all like so close
for me of being bad. And there's good tracks on all of them, but there's tiny redeeming qualities, because the next one for me is actually the Marshall Mathers LP2.
Really?
The reason was that was the album for me that I was looking forward to the most, because I felt like Eminem had a drop off. Like Relapse happened, whatever. Then we had Recovery, then Revival. And I was like, he's going to come out with something again one day. That's that. And then when that was announced, I'm like, okay, he's trying to really go back to that Marshall Mathers route, like that LP. But the other reason, I love Rick Rubin. And Rick Rubin was coming back to produce it, one of the greatest producers ever.
Yep.
And so I think it's because my expectations were so high for that album. Not that there's not great, there's good songs on that album, but it also all sounds the same to me. Like it's just sort of like that. It's a skip over album. And so that was my next worst album, just in the fact of the hype I had for it, the expectation, not just of Eminem, but the producer behind it and the tracks they were putting on it and how much marketing was behind it, that it actually flopped.
So what's your next one? Because I gave my second worst out with Infinite, and then you gave your second worst out with the Marshall Mathers LP2. What's your third worst, I guess?
Revival. And here's the thing. Revival is one of those albums that I actually enjoyed more after I listened to it more. Like when Eminem has that track on Kamikaze where he's like saying, it went over everybody's head. I think it was him trying to finally just be himself and be creative in his own world instead of trying to appease everybody else. However, it was in that same vein of like hype, let's get it done. A lot, but it also felt like it was the most overly produced collab album he's ever done to this date.
Yeah.
Not that he's an Ed Sheeran fan. That's fine. And they work on the same, Ed Sheeran's a talented artist, but it's like, you're having people on there that I would never expect you to have. And it feels like if anybody else releases that album, it's a hit.
Yeah.
And Eminem releases it and it's not.
Yeah.
So that's where it was for me. Like I said, after listening to it more, I enjoyed it more. But it makes near the bottom just because the coincidence or the circumstances behind it.
You and I have the exact same ranking on Revival. Revival's my next one, and for all the reasons that you said, I like Ed Sheeran. I think that he's a good artist. I think Beyonce is very talented. I didn't really like the collabs with these two. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So there was some redeeming qualities from it. But I don't know. I just felt like Revival. I felt like what was missing in Revival came out in Kamikaze. Does that make sense? Like I just felt like everything that he was missing, he turned into in the next album, and I'm fine with that. But this one I guess it just missed. It just missed for me.
Which is funny because my next one is Relapse, which I don't think is a good album. I think that was the album, though, where Eminem, the reason I put it higher than others, I think Eminem was learning that he could get rid of the Slim Shady persona. Because, he even jokes that he got rid of that voice that he does in, Shake That and all those songs where, that was also his least notable beef, him and Triumph, the comedy dog.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really? You're going to make a song trying to diss that dog? Like, get the hell out of here. But there's still songs that I'll listen to on the album.
Okay.
Like that's the thing. It's one of those I'll probably listen to Crack a Bottle more than I'll listen to a song on Relapse, if that makes sense. Or on Revival.
I think Crack a Bottle has some redeeming qualities, but yeah, no, I can't agree with your ranking there, but I can definitely see your point. So my next one is actually gonna be Music to be Murdered too. This just seemed like. I guess it seemed like he was just trying too hard. He brought back Ed Sheeran for a second time to collab. I just felt like maybe he was going through some stuff during this time. It came out in 2020. I didn't have any bangers on it. Like there wasn't anything that I can just say like, oh yeah, this is a great song from it. This is something that I really enjoy. I found myself skipping damn near every song. And so you
don't think Godzilla is a fucking banger?
No, I don't like Godzilla.
Okay.
No, I really don't. I don't like this. I don't like this album. And the funny part is I think you and I were actually talking about this album in particular when it came out. And you asked if I'd listened to it, and I did. And I just didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. So Music to Be Murdered By is my next one. What's yours?
Well, that's mine. Music to Be Murdered By. Then mine's number 7. Yours is number 8. So we're close there. I think there's tracks on there that are good, but I also felt like it was one of those albums too that he. The funny thing is, a lot of the ones we're talking about right now were albums in response to another album flop.
Right.
So like you have this coming out because people didn't love Kamikaze. And so we were like, oh, thank God this is coming out because a lot of people didn't like Kamikaze. You know what I mean? And so they're like, it feels like his worst albums he ever created were in response to people saying it was the worst album he ever created, which is funny to me because it's like, okay, you made an album, people didn't like it. So then you come out with another album. And then to me, that album's worse.
Yeah.
Because half of it, it's like when people complain about shit and you just don't want to listen anymore. It like some of the tracks on there just sound like, oh, fuck you fans. You don't understand what I'm going through and what I'm saying, what I'm writing. And I'm not trying to diss Eminem at all. I think the talent is beyond levels.
Yeah.
But anytime he had an album in response to himself for a failure album, which mind you, Revival is a failure album, but it's not that bad of an album. It's low on my list, but you get what I mean? Like, his failure albums still outsell more people, but that doesn't mean you're a great artist or it's a great album.
Right.
But every time he came out with one in response to a bad album, I'm like, man, you just made it worse. Like, why? Just stop. Just maybe take a break. Like, take 4 years off and come back and give me a fucking banger instead of, I'm going to answer this in 10 months and here you go. And it's like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, the more it's one of those two, it's the epitome of the excuse B word of the more you listen to it, the more you like it. Like, you've had those. That is that album. Hence why it's, it's closer to the middle than near the bottom, because I can throw it on but it's at the point where it's forgettable, but not unforgettable.
See, that's exactly how I feel about Kamikaze, which is my next one. Kamikaze is one of those ones that I felt like musically is extremely solid, but it's not complex. It's straight to the point. It's, I don't know. I felt like there was a lot of good things that came out of it again musically. I just didn't feel like there was passion behind it. I felt like it was more of that rant, like he's going on a rant, like not a Jake the Hater rant, but he's just ranting about life and he's ranting about how he feels and the things that he's going through. And he's talking about things like his use of the homophobic slurs before. And it's just like, come on, like, let's move past it. Like, let's do something different here. Like, I will say that there are redeeming qualities to it, which is why it's not as low as, let's say, Revival for me or Relapse for me. But Kamikaze is my definite next one.
Okay, so then what would your next one be? Let's go out of order.
Encore.
Okay.
Yeah, I like Encore. I think it's a good album. I think as we start to get into some of these, I think this is where I find either the most redemption from these, or I find more tracks that I can at least spin, if that makes sense. So if I'm listening to. So for this one, so for Encore, I mean, number one, it has a lot of really good songs on there that I like. It's also got some very sad ones, like Ass Like That. I just, like, that one was a good one, Ass Like That, but I just felt like he was still quirky in the way that he uses his voice and stuff, and the
Pee Wee Herman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so I still found like this was crazy, but I didn't feel like it's as bad as the other ones that we've already referenced. So Encore's that for me.
That's mine. And it's not that we're copying each other. It's the fact that there's those rankings of Eminem, right? Like, these were the first formidable years where he's coming out. Where, I mean, this was also another hype one where it was like the cover looks almost the same as Eminem show.
Yeah.
But it was, the thing about this album for me was there was good tracks. Like, I love the song Rain Man, and I know a lot of people don't, but it's an annoying fucking song.
Right.
Like, and that's why I like it. It's that I think every Eminem album needs a weird video and a weird song, right? And that's the one for that album. But it ranks low because I don't find myself going back to that album very often.
Right.
Like, I don't want to listen to it. Now, mind you, one of my favorite songs ever by him, and which we'll get into later, is on that album. but it's just not my favorite. And so it makes it's essentially the middle of the road. People are going to hate me for what I'm going to say next. But Eminem Show is my next least favorite album. That's number 5. So that's almost the exact middle of the road album for me. And I know people are going to tell me that's a banging album. And it is. It is. But for me, there are better songs and more listenability on other albums above that.
Okay.
And if you're going for the echelon of like, you have Slim Shady and Marshall Mathers LP, spoiler, as we already know, based on my ranking, they're pretty high up.
Mm-hmm.
This was like the last place of those. And I felt like this was the album where he started going really production, almost Hollywood heavy, if I could put it that way.
Okay.
Like where it seemed like collabs really started to happen and he really cared about being put on the radio. Because I felt with the first 2 albums, right? You look at Slim Shady LP and Marshall Mathers LP. Pretty much every song is a middle finger to everything, and they were going to get played anyways.
Mm-hmm.
This album felt like, please play me on the radio so I can sell more albums. And that's why it's number 5 for me, because it has great tracks. It has fun. But it also felt like, hey, listen to my buddy Obi Trice. Hey, listen to me with this song. Hey, all I really care about is Just Lose It. Like, that's the problem I have with that album. It just didn't hit the same as other ones did before.
Gotcha. Well, so this is where I have the Marshall Mathers LP too, is right here, my number 5. And I obviously like this album a lot more than you do, apparently, because you thought that this one was absolute shit, it appears. However, I did like the Marshall Mathers LP too right here. I think it's a good album. Is it his greatest album? No, but I'm obviously putting it in his top 5 of 11. So we'll go with that. But I'm gonna jump ahead real quick. My next one's Recovery. I liked Recovery. I thought Recovery did a new spin. It was almost like a new view of Eminem. Obviously, there was a time period in his life where he decided to choose sobriety, and you can really hear that through his lyrics. I really enjoyed a lot of the songs that were on this one, and I felt like this one was more of an in-depth look at who Eminem was at the time that it was recorded. And so that makes my number 4. So where are you at number 4?
Number 4 is Kamikaze. I actually like Kamikaze more than most people. I think it's because, as you were saying, it's straightforward. It's just a big fuck you to everybody. And I'm going to rap in my new style nonstop the whole album and just rhyme words really fast and just make it like everybody's a target, which to me, that's the epitome of a great Jake the Hater album. So like, I like Kamikaze a lot. I think it was creative. I love the artwork. I like a lot about it. I also feel like it was like he's showcasing people in whether he's dissing them or having them on there or whatever in his own way, in a good way. Like Joyner Lucas, like I said, I'm a huge fan of his. I always have been. Not that he wasn't going to make it big already. He was already doing a lot, but he puts him on the Lucky You song and kills it, and then helps squash the beef between him and Logic. And then, Joyner and Logic go out and do the song ISIS, which is also fucking killer if you'd ever listen to that. I'm a Logic boy, as we know. But Kamikaze, I think it gets too much hate. I think I think there are tracks on there, just like any Eminem album or anybody's album, that you're not going to love. Like Venom can just go kick rocks. Like that's the most sellout song that Eminem's ever done in his whole fucking life. But other than that, and you could tell, I mean, even the way he's singing that song is like, Venom, it's like, dude, you didn't even care. Like you literally got paid. And then the rest of the album that's how that whole album was paid for. But Kamikaze is my next one.
So your top 3, you have Recovery, the Slim Shady LP, and the Marshall Mathers LP.
Exactly.
My top 3, I have the Eminem Show, the Slim Shady LP, and the Marshall Mathers LP.
The first 3 albums, yeah. Way to go, you.
Yeah, because I do think that it's that. Now my question to you is, in the manner that I said them, Recovery, the Slim Shady LP, the Marshall Mathers LP, is that your order?
Exact order right there.
See, in my exact order is the Eminem Show, the Slim Shady LP, and the Marshall Mathers LP. I think that this is quintessential when I think of Eminem. Let's at least agree upon the top 2. These 2 albums are by far his best creative albums. They have the best tracks. I'd argue that they have the best music videos. I think that they have done a phenomenal job in illustrating who the myth of Slim Shady is and who the man of Marshall Mathers is. And to me, those two are definitely top two premium Eminem CDs for sure.
Well, you made a good point. I mean, like I can get into why I like Recovery more than most people. I think it was one of those albums. It was actually very well done. But Eminem LP or the Slim Shady LP and the Marshall Mathers LP are the best two of all time. And the reason is it's actually the split personality of Eminem and Slim Shady.
Yep.
In two different albums.
Yep.
Like it's like he knew Slim Shady would make him big. And then he's like, okay, now you're going to see this side of me and that's going to make me big. And I mean, Marshall Mathers number one for me, just because it was the most visceral, like raw, like here's my life. Here's what you want to hear. I can still have fun and be Slim Shady, but like, you're going to get how I actually feel on the inside, which is I think it was one of those things. It was like, when people don't think you can get worse and then you get worse.
Yeah.
Like that's what I love about it. Slim Shady's good, but as anything, and Infinite's off the table, even though it's the first studio album, technically, there were problems with it in the sense of like, there could have been things done a little better.
Yeah. There
could have been some cleanup work and stuff like that. I can't remember which song it is right now, but there's one song, like if you listen to it on the worst system, it hurts your ears so bad. And I can't remember, but it's got this like cash register sound in the background, and it just kills me every time because it's a great track. But it's one of those. But great list. I mean, I don't want to get into why they're the top three. I think it's pretty self-explanatory, and we explained that. But you brought up a good point, B-Word, of music videos.
Let's take a break because we're getting a little long. He's got some great music videos, and I definitely want to rank those. So we'll be right back to talk about Eminem's music videos. Bleach Bros podcast is proud to align itself with Jerky Pro, a beef jerky manufacturer established by military and paramilitary veterans.
Available in 3-ounce or 1-pound bags with great flavors such as honey glazed, teriyaki, red hot, apple cinnamon, original, peppered, sweet barbecue, and if you're ballsy enough, nuclear.
Be sure to use our promo code to get some of the best jerky on the market. Use Bleach Bros 5, all lowercase, to take advantage of this offer today. Welcome back to the Bleach Brothers podcast. Thank you again for listening to our second break and commercials and everything like that. Music videos. Jake the Hater. We love music videos. We are fans of MTV, or at least what it was. We are fans of VH1, or at least what it was. Music videos were a huge thing for us back in the day. And when it came to music videos, Eminem had some really incredible music videos. Now, behind the scenes, we talked, and I said, I have 5 music videos ranked, no less, with 2 honorable mentions. But you mentioned that you only have 3. So let me tell you what my honorable mentions are, and then we'll start at least getting into this. So honorable mentions, I liked My Name Is, and I like We're the Ones Who Made You. I just thought that those were too creative. I don't really like the song We're the Ones Who Made You, to be candid with you.
Okay.
But I liked the music video of it. I just thought it was weird and colorful creative. And all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So that's, again, why it was an honorable mention. Now, I've got my top 5. How do you want to do this, man? Do you want me to just tell you what 4 and 5 are, and then we'll just do top 3?
Tell me what 4 and 5 are, just like you did. Because I'll tell you right now, your honorable mentions didn't make my list, so good job making those not make a list.
Very good. Number 5 is Like Toy Soldiers. I love the music video. I love the darkness of it, the black and white of it. It actually has more of a black and gray tinge to it, but I really enjoyed that. When I'm Gone, I think is one of his best tracks. And that makes my number 4. So with that, I've got 3 left.
The funny thing is, my 3 are from his first 3 albums, 1 from each. And I think it'll be the same. So, I mean, if I do this in order, number 3 is The Real Slim Shady. I think that was the quintessential where you got to see Eminem finally be Eminem. I actually lied. 1 is not. It's only from 2 albums from my tops, but 1 is not from his oldest album. I didn't have anything from the Slim Shady LP. But The Real Slim Shady was, I think, where you got to see where he could have that. I mean, yeah, My Name Is the fun, colorful side, but I think this was like when you see a director go from a B film to an A film.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. It's fun. It goes along. It's rare when a music video goes so well with a music video.
Right.
and it matches perfectly. So that's why for that. What's your number 3?
The real Slim Shady.
Okay.
Yeah, for all the same reasons you said. I'm actually curious if we're gonna have the same top 2.
I bet it's all the
I don't
same.
think so, but we'll see. So what's your
What's your
number
next one,
2?
then?
Oh, okay.
No, you tell me.
My next one's Without Me.
No, we're not the same.
Okay. So I like Without Me. I think that I think it's an incredible song, actually. And I really enjoyed the music video of it. It was very creative. I liked everything about the music video. Obviously, it's in my top 3. But what do you have for number 2?
I lied. It's that, and the reason is because it's the exact same. It's the essence of, again, you have a B director go to an A movie and then do another A+ movie. You even perfected the real Slim Shady again.
Yes.
And like you made it, and it's fun. I remember when we used to do that mock rock in high school. Remember that, where you could lip sing like a music song or whatever, and like have that contest. I wanted to do this song as my mock rock in front of the whole school, and I thought it would have been hilarious. But it's a great video. It goes well. It's fun. Watching him make fun of everything from Michael Jackson to Moby is fucking stellar. So what? I bet your number one.
Our number one's gonna be the same. It's gonna be Stan.
Stan.
Yeah.
Stan. It's the greatest music video that describes him being Eminem.
Yep. No, I love the video. I love I was actually listening to a lot of Eminem songs in preparation of this album, or of this podcast episode. And I can't tell you how many times I repeated Stan as I was listening to it. I just think it's an absolutely creative song. I just really love it. But the way that he did it in the music video, and the way that he found this look-alike ability, like you said, that he found Slim Shady, if you will,
Devin Sawa,
to just be this alter ego as M's rapping it. It was just amazing, dude. I love Stan. But that gets us into singles. Man,
the Everlasting Jukebox.
The Everlasting Jukebox of Eminem singles. So I do have mine ranked 1 through 5.
Mm-hmm.
I do have 2 honorable mentions. Candidly, we could probably put a whole shitload more songs into the Everlasting Jukebox, but I did have to limit myself here. I did have a hard time getting down to what these were, though. How was your process on this?
Same thing. 2 honorable mentions, as always. Listenability. What do I listen to the most? What do I rap along to the most? What do I find? For me, a lot of it is like, what's the most offensive lyric that I can listen to in the car at the time when my mom was there, or my wife, that she's just like, oh my God, I can't believe that was said. Because I think that's a part of what makes Eminem.
Yeah.
That's why we liked him. Because I mean, we were teenagers when we first started hearing him, and listening to him say some of the most off the wall, vulgar crap made me like him more. So the same thing. I'll start with my 2 honorable mentions. I've mentioned both of them earlier in the show. Kim, because it's a song. It's not a song though at the same time, right?
Yep.
So, and I'm not putting in the honorable or in the Everlasting Jukebox for that. Number 2 is Girls, because Girls is off the D12 album. It's the diss against Limp Bizkit. I just like how he gets into him really hard. It's also that part where he does that singing thing that Eminem tries to do. Not as bad as Mockingbird, but and not dissing his singing, but I mean, I'm glad that he goes out on a limb and tries those things. But it's an Eminem track, but it's listed as a D12 track.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that. What are your honorable mentions?
So I have Without Me, and I have Guilty Conscience.
That's a good song.
Guilty Conscience is an incredible song. As I was going through this, it made my top 5 probably 4 or 5 times before I settled on it. I'm actually pretty disappointed that you didn't have Under the Influence as an honorable mention here, specifically for the chorus, where it says, "So you can suck my dick if you don't like my shit," because I was high when I wrote this. So suck my dick. I felt like that was going to be at least an honorable mention, and I'm actually super disappointed that that's not on there. So regardless, let's get into the top 5. What is your top 5? Give me number 5.
Number 5 is Spend Some Time. It's one of my favorite songs ever by
one.
Eminem. I like the collab with it. It's I like the creativity of every person's on there. It's also the singing part. It's one of those songs. It's easy to follow the bouncing ball, if it were, and rap along to and sing along to. I think it's the best track on Encore. So I dig that song a lot. I really love 50's verses on it. I think 50 had a shining moment with Eminem on a lot of Eminem's tracks,
Yeah.
which is great because 50 is a great artist too. But that'd be my number 5. What about you?
So you already shat on my number 5 with Mockingbird. Mockingbird for me is my number 5. I liked Mockingbird. It was my first experience listening to M try to sing. I can't really say that M sings, but he tries to sing. I love the lyrics behind Mockingbird. I love the message behind Mockingbird. And as a dad, I just kind of felt like that was one of those things that I could relate to at the time of listening to it. So Mockingbird is my number 5. What's your number 4?
Number 4? No, you go.
Like Toy Soldiers.
Oh God, man, how many times are you going to mention that on this fucking show?
Right. I love that. I love it. I love the fuck. I just love everything about like Toy Soldiers, to be honest with you. I think that the way he describes the beef, the way he describes the emotion on it, the way he describes some of the background of the beef and how he's just giving up and how not necessarily giving up, but he's just not focusing on it anymore. And he just understands that there's a bigger picture. For me, with the way that he positioned the lyrics, with the way that he rapped it, I felt like that song offered growth. And I fucking loved it. So I put that on as number 4.
Mine's from his very first album, and it's If I Had. And I know a lot of people don't probably love that song, but it was the first poetic song, I think, by Eminem, where it was just pretty much him talking about poverty in his life and like having dreams and just, it felt like that song that he just wrote on the bus, like when you're watching 8 Mile.
Yeah.
That he just was like, I'm going to do this, and I'm just going to talk about, I wish I had this. I wish I could fuck the whole world without a condom on. Like, yeah, I'm down with that. I like the rawness of that track. It just sounds real to me. Not that I don't believe anything else he's saying in a lot of songs, but it just, when you listen to that album, that's the first song that comes on and I think to mind, like, yeah, he really felt this song. So that's my number 4.
So my number 3 is Haley's song. Again, for very similar to Mockingbird and very similar to Like Toy Soldiers, actually. I loved how gritty the song was. I loved how he talked about his relationship with Kim. I love how he talked about his love of his daughter and also, I believe it's his stepdaughter or adopted daughter. I forget what the relationship is there, but it was a beautifully done song. And again, as a dad, I felt like I related to that a lot in certain ways. And I love the pain that was in the song. I love the lyrics that are in the song. Haley's song for sure is a solid 3 for me.
My next one is Drug Ballad.
That's a
Drug Ballad. I mean, Drug Ballad and Superman. It's funny; they're both the same number track on 2 albums in a row. It has that same girl. I don't know the name of the female singing, but it's one of those. She sounds hot to me. She's probably not, but she sounds hot. But it's the funnest song I think Eminem's ever had, in my opinion, that you can sing along to. That it just sounds like. I mean, it's also opens up to his lifestyle. Like, I'm going to do a ton of drugs. I'm going to have fun. I'm also going to sit on a rocking chair when I'm old and tell stories while my daughter goes out and does this. A lot of people might like Superman more because it was the more produced and came out later. And also had, I can't remember the female, Gina, I think. I can't remember her last name, the porn star in the music video with him. But great track. But Drug Ballad's that song too. Like, it felt like when we were 13, B-word, when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
If you could rap along with it, you were cool.
Yeah.
Like, because it's fast enough but slow enough, but it's got everything that I want, and it's just a fun fucking song. So that would be my number 3.
That's a good song. So my number 2, this one hits home actually. When this was released was after I was kicked out of the house with the identification, I guess, or the knowledge that I was going to have a baby with my ex at the time, and. Cleaning Out My Closet. It's a song where Eminem's really talking about the relationship with his mom. And a lot of the lyrics in there at the time spoke to me about my relationship with my mom. And I'm really happy that my mom and I've, we have a beautiful relationship now. But at the time that came out, I identified with that track a lot. And some of the things that he was talking about was like, holy shit, man, you're pulling the words out of my mouth. So Cleaning Out My Closet's my number 2 solidly. I love the song. I love the beat to it. I love everything about it. And today I can listen to it and it doesn't really remind me of my relationship with my mom. It just reminds me of a time period that I was listening to it and that it really spoke to me. So Cleaning Out My Closet's my number 2. What about you?
I like that. Despicable Despicable's that song where I think we finally got to see what Eminem could actually do if you just let him go loose and not really have a thought process behind the song and just listen to him lyrically rap and rhyme. It's fun to sing along to if you know the words. It's fast. It's hard. It sounds like a cipher in the studio where it's like, just go, see how long you could do. I just love that track for it. Like I said, I felt like it was the first introduction to Rap God.
Yeah.
If it were, where we got to see a glimpse into, holy crap, he can do this, and he's going to do it harder, and he's going to do it better. And so that's why it's there for me. My number one track of all time, B-word, is Marshall Mathers. Hey, dude, just everybody he disses in it, and just the cadence of flow is so well done against the beat.
Yeah.
Where he's going off on ICP is so great. It's that song though too, whenever I was younger and I'd listen to it with my wife or anything, I love how vulgar it gets and gritty it gets. And it's my favorite track of all time. I could sing that song over and over and over again and feel good. It almost hits me as hard as Hit 'Em Up by Tupac.
Yeah.
I just love when he goes off in that song. So
I love that song. I'm not going to lie. That's a great song. Great number one. I could definitely see how that makes your list. I think yours and my lists are different for multiple reasons. I think that it's based off of listenability, of course, but it's also based off of what it means to you. And number one for me is Stan. I just think that Stan is an absolute lyrical beast of a song. The way that he's writing it from a different perspective as a fan, what Stan has become in society now, that people actually call people stans because they're stalkers or they're whatever. I love the way that he was talking about how the fan has a backstory. He's got a brother. He's got this girlfriend. He's got all of these circumstances that he's dealing with. It was almost Eminem acknowledging that people are going through real life things. But separately, when Eminem's responding and he's like, "Hey, I signed your, or I autographed a starter cap for your brother. I'm sorry I didn't get to you." It also kind of revealed what performers go through at that time, where paparazzi was pretty high, and just that they have a lot of pressures on themselves too. And it wasn't like used as an excuse. I think it was used in a way where he's just like, "Hey, this is what I'm going through. I'm sorry to hear what you're going through, and I'm trying my best here." And then to find out that Stan wrecked the car with his pregnant girlfriend in the trunk, like, you just didn't hear stuff on the radio at that point. You know what I mean? And you just didn't hear stuff like that. And so with that, Stan is my number one. So that's the Everlasting Jukebox on my end.
I can't hate on it, but we're also big Eminem stans ourselves. So, of course, that has to happen. I mean, great episode, dude.
Yeah, this
great
was awesome.
Breakdown of everything of the Bleach Bottlehead, the pointy nose white rapper that we all love.
I'm sure he bleached his pubes.
I'm sure he's a Bleach bro.
Yeah, I would say that Eminem is a Bleach bro. And if he's not, he's an honorary Bleach bro.
He's an honorary Bleach bro. I like that, viewer.
Well, with that, my guy, what do you got for me?
Thanks for all the dirty talk. Come back and get sanitized. This is Jake from the Bleach Bros podcast, and thank you for listening to today's episode. I want to bring to your attention our Linktree. Visit Linktree/Bleach Bros podcast for access to all of our socials, merch, and streaming sites. Linktree is linktr.ee/Bleach Bros podcast, all one word. And if you enjoy our content, make sure to give us a like, give us a review on whatever platform you are listening on, and also invite your friends.